podcast 74, One Man Brand, with me, Tom Torero, about to hit the road once more to go to Prague in the Czech Republic, not for some rock and roll day game, but to see my dear mother and my aunt, who is flying in from New York City. She, like my dad, is from Czechoslovakia, as it was then, born in Slovakia, teenage years in Prague. So it will be nice to see her and explore her city with her finally. After Prague, I'm off to Ukraine for some more day game, back on the day game hustle, and then I'm off to Canada once more. I'm going to Toronto to teach day game, then back to Europe in October for the Euro Tour with Craig Cassidy, Cologne, Munich, Vienna, Prague, Krakow. And then in November with my mate Tim, I'm off to Japan once more because we had such a good time last time. And then finishing the year, celebrating a crazy motherfucking year in Las Vegas and California. So yeah, it's non-stop now until Christmas. Also editing Stealth Seduction, because that's basically done. The long edit begins, and at the same time trying to finish writing Cold Calling. It's pretty much written, it needs to be edited, and then large chunks of it, I suppose, rewritten. That's my guide to day gaming in the former Soviet Union countries. So hustling hard, but it's what I love, and I'm very thankful for it. And that's the topic of today's podcast, really. One man brand. You are a brand in terms of your sexual market value to girls. You are a brand in terms of your frame, not fame. But we'll also talk about brand as in online businesses. Maybe you want to be a pickup coach, a day game coach. Maybe you're branding something else, using social media, doing it by yourself, going at it alone with not much money, not much capital, minimal equipment, being a minimalist, and getting to the point where you're living from your laptop. So stuff I've spoken about in the past with Flowmad, etc., etc. And once again, I'm reminding you, I'm not a marketer. I'm not a branding expert or a businessman. I've never done any courses or read any books. I'm just going to tell you what I did, what I'm currently doing. It's opposite advice, you could say, to most of that lifestyle design, quote unquote, stuff. I've been putting out pickup content since 2010, and I've not had any training in it. Like my day game, I just learned on the job. I never set out to be a day game coach or have a brand. I was in a comfortable school teaching position. I was a school teacher. I was a senior teacher. I was on the senior management team. I trained other teachers. And that's where I thought my career was heading. But somewhere in 2012, early 2013, I said, fuck it. And day game became my job. When I saw the possibilities, I saw the demand. I stepped off into the dark, and I don't regret it. So one man brand. Branding yourself, doing it yourself. I forgot to say, I've got something flashing up on my laptop. I'm not day gaming in Prague this weekend, but I am doing a Prague meetup because loads of guys have moved to Prague. It's become the day game mecca of the world, you could say. There's loads of guys traveling through when they do their Euro day game shenanigans. So Sunday the 11th, 8 p.m, underneath the astronomical clock, very famous in the old town square. It's opposite Starbucks. And we'll gather there, wait 5 or 10 minutes, go and find somewhere to gather round and perch and meet wings. It's a good opportunity to meet other Prague day gamers, have a natter, share some successes, share some woes, very importantly in Fight Club style, do a Q&A, and have a dark Czech beer. So I'm looking forward to that. Sunday the 11th, 8 p.m. Okay, let's dive into the podcast. And the first message is that the one-man brand thing is a long slog. You can't cut corners. There are no shortcuts like losing weight rapidly, getting rich quick, getting any girl with sneaky pickup tricks. It's just a long slog of hard work. That's the disclaimer. And guys go, oh, fuck, and then just stop listening to the podcast. But like anything, exactly like day game, it's a long slog, because when that initial momentum dies after your burst of enthusiasm, You say, yeah, I'm going to start a podcast. Yeah, I'm going to start a channel. Yeah, I'm going to start a blog. You do it for a few weeks and then you get bored of it. So when that dies, you need something else to sustain you and carry you through. So it has to be about something you love, something you would do even if you weren't getting paid. I've said many times before that when I started being a day gamer and then a day game coach, it wasn't because I wanted to have a YouTube channel. It wasn't because I wanted to make this my job. I genuinely loved day game from day one. And I was just helping people out in 2010, 2011, teaching for free. And then for 10 quid an hour, it was only when somebody else approached me and said, would you like to start teaching boot camps, that it occurred to me, that it dawned on me that this could even be a job. So set out from day one to make your personal brand, for whatever that is, about something you love. I know it's a cliche when they say follow your bliss, find your passion. And the $1 million question is that, well, what the fuck is my passion? It's the thing you do, maybe you've done since you were a teenager or a kid. The thing you would do if you had unlimited free time. If I gave you $1 million, $10 million today, and I said, go off and do whatever you want to do for the rest of your life. It's that thing. It's the thing that you find quite effortless. It's not a massive drain. You think about it a lot, you read up on it, you hopefully do it a lot. That's the thing that you could make into your brand, and make it in the beginning for the love of it and see where it takes you. You need that because it's going to be a long slog. And I'm going to be talking about podcasts and videos and articles and books and products and teaching. So you've got to have a good understanding of it. Obviously, you've got to know what you're doing. This has got to be a skill set, something you're deeply into, something that's occupied your mind for a good few years. So not just a few months, something you absolutely love doing. Since 2010 or 11, you could say, I've put out video products. I think my first one was Conversation King. Then I did Date Against the Machine. Then at roughly the same time, I brought out my first book using Lulu called Daygame, catchy title. Then I did a big video product called The Girlfriend Sequence. Then there was my second book, again through Lulu, Torero Travels. I've put them now, Daygame and Torero Travels, on Amazon Kindle as well. There's the plug. After that, I did Badass Buddha, my own video seminar. I experimented with Kindle for the first time using my book, How to Flirt with Girls. Then I did Conversation Ninja. Then I did Flowmad, which is free on YouTube. And then it all culminated in my big, hard textbook for day game and for texting and for dating and for relationships, called Street Hustle. And that's the one I'm most proud of. And I built up to it. And at the same time, as I said, I've been running podcasts, I think now for 2 years. I've had my own website since 2014. I've had my own day game YouTube channel, I think, since 2012. I've been writing, first of all, on forums and then on blogs, and then putting that stuff into books. I've been teaching it, oh my word, since 2010. One-on-one, boot camps, seminars, Skype coaching, training things. So I've got a good grasp of this. And I've taught myself organically. So the message of this podcast also is that you don't need to go to a university to do a marketing degree. You don't need to go on expensive courses or download expensive courses. You don't need to read books on it. You just need to do it. Just like with Daygame, I say, just start. Being out in the field, will teach you 90% of what you need to know. And then you fine tune everything else. And I've asked for advice. I've watched other people do stuff with branding, and you learn as you go along. You learn on the job. That's the best way to do it, until you reach the point where you are the brand. Now, I don't mean it's about me, massive ego, because that's going to lead to an inevitable collapse, because you're going to be so sensitive if the brand is just about you. The brand is about your lifestyle. The brand is about the thing that you are passionately associated with. As the famous quote says, if you've branded your lifestyle, then you're doing something right. And that sentence reminds me of people like Dan Bilzerian, who's on Instagram, or Casey Neistat, who's on YouTube, or somebody I came across recently on Instagram. Bit of a metrosexual Italian guy, but a fucking cool guy and an amazing brander of his life. Gianluca Vacchi, I think you say, spelt Gianluca Vacchi. He's a huge Italian star. You'll come across him and check out his Instagram. Inspirational stuff. Yeah, a bit providery, a bit blingy, but just look at the branding. Look at the way he ties everything together. Look at the way he uses social media. Look at the way he's consistent. Look at the way he's positive. All of these things we'll be talking about in this podcast. Another great quote, which I love, says that branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So there's your personal brand. If you weren't in the room or behind your back, people say your name, what's the first thing they associate you with? Yeah. So the first thing is that your brand, your personal brand, your message needs to be absolutely clear. Your mission needs to be absolutely clear. I'm not just talking about one-off articles or a few videos or one product or a few little goals you've got for yourself. It's your overall mission that's going to last decades, if not your whole lifetime. So when somebody says your name in 50 years' time, what's the thing that pops into their head? So if you say Nick Faldo, for people my age, immediately you think of English golfer, yeah? Or when you say Apple, people think of iPhones and computers, etc. Very, very, very clear message. In business, what's that called? USP, your unique selling point. What's your tag? What's your motto? What's your creed? So for Tom Torero, I've always started obviously with daygame, with girls, sex, freedom, happiness, traveling, being on the road, taking massive action. That's where my tagline comes from. Grab life by the horns. Horns being a play on bullfighter, obviously licking the lid of life. That's a nice phrase for debauchery, for decadence, for hedonism. A black sheep, because you're being a minimalist, you're going your own way, you're not following the herd. Being a nomad or a flowmad. It takes time to find your voice. So when I started out in daygame, 2010, I didn't know what I was going to be associated with, or what look I wanted, or where I was going to end up, what the message was going to be again and again and again. But over the years, and by 2014, 2015, I had a good idea of the brand. So it takes time to find your voice and be about one thing. There's many guys currently who I've advised on Skype or chatted to face to face, and they're trying to launch a brand, or they're trying to launch a pickup brand, and it's too wishy-washy. It's about many things. So they're doing lifestyle, fitness, fashion, cars, watches, day game, night game, entourage game, text game, Tinder game. That's trying to be a jack of all trades, master of none, and that simply doesn't work in a small niche thing like this. Yep, you're not trying to please people. You're not trying to make content for what the masses want. Because without sounding arrogant, the masses, the followers, don't really know what they want. It's your particular voice they're following. That's what's interesting. That's what stands out. So take a stand. Stand for something. Otherwise, it's too half-assed, half-hearted. And again, when people say your name, well, what does he stand for? Is it about fitness? Is that the guy with the suits? Is that the guy who does day game or night game? Or is that guy that talks about meditation? I don't know. Niche. Yeah? You don't need to win over the whole internet. Be about one thing. And day game is about one thing. And even within that, be about one thing. So that's your clear mission. You can't do anything else until you've sorted that out. And now some people say, okay, get a piece of paper and work out your mission and work out where you're going to go. The truth is that you don't really know. Otherwise, you would have sorted it out already. So just start, experiment, tweak, and over a period of months, a year or 2 years, your voice will come through. Be it in podcasts or in the videos or in the articles you're making, you'll find that voice. And when you find that voice and you realize people like it, stick with it. There you go. You've got it. And then push forwards. And that leads on to point number 2, consistency. It's a long slog and it's going to take time. I've already said, don't be the flash in the pan. Don't go for fickle fame. Be the Bentley. be the Savoy Hotel, be the Rolex. So that's a long fucking slog of decades of hard work, yeah? No shortcuts. Consistency is key, so people can recognize your brand immediately. So think of logo, think of font, think of color, think of music. If you're talking about a podcast or a jingle, think about the feel of your brand, yeah? And you can't really change it. Yeah, you can energize it and revamp it as you go along. But Coke is associated with Coca-Cola, yeah? Imagine if Coke started selling insurance or Nike started selling sushi. It just wouldn't fit. So again, it's really important. When I was coming up with the logo and even the font and the graphics for Tom Torero and for my website and for my books, I had a really long, hard think. And I got inspiration, and I worked with different people, illustrators and designers, but I was very specific, and I said, I want this style, I want this look. And I collected photographs and images, and that's what I sent them. And we went back and forth for a long time, because I was very aware that once you've got that logo, once you've even got that color scheme, once you've got that thing, which is part of your clear mission, that's what you're stuck with for quite a long time. Imagine if Apple suddenly just changed their logo. Yeah, they could revamp it like Uber recently did, but people are going to remember one big thing. So work on that as well. And then once you got it, you're going to keep hammering the message home. You're going to keep hammering the message home. So with podcasts, yep, you're going to be doing it every single week. If you start daily vlogging, you can't change your mind for a good while. You got to keep doing it. Just keep uploading, as Casey Neistat says. And the YouTube algorithms, or the Google algorithms, or the podcast iTunes algorithms, they like this consistency, and so do people. People like knowing when the podcast is going to be released, even though I miss it by a day or two sometimes. But when I take breaks with YouTube or iTunes, people freak out because their schedule is disrupted and they don't like it. Human beings, we are quite robotic, and we like schedules of TV shows, and we like knowing when movies are coming out, and we like sequential things. So you got to be consistent. You can't mess people around. That's an easy way to grow as well. If you're nice and consistent, you'll outdo other people who fall by the wayside when their initial enthusiasm wears off. And that links with point 3, regularity. Yep. In the old days, you could put out one YouTube video a month or one blog article a week. That is not enough now, because you've got daily vloggers, you've got immediate access to your platform through Instagram and through Twitter. So people are expecting regularity and frequency. And with things like Periscope now, the frequency is going up. Sure, you shouldn't be a dancing monkey. You make high quality content. That's what matters. But this is not something you can dabble with. This needs a lot of hard work, because what I do, as I've said many times before, is content marketing. Yeah, I'm not doing spammy affiliate stuff or clickbait or mailing list kind of stuff. I'm relying on my content and the quality of my content to build an audience, and then you can sell to that audience. That's in essence what online marketing is, and you don't need a degree to understand that. So you are your own manager, right? You are in charge of all these platforms that cross-pollinate. Yeah. So your PR person, you are the accountant, you are the editor, you are the producer, you are the publicist. It's a one-man brand. So you're in control of your YouTube, your blog, like I said, Instagram, Twitter. You're in charge of your iTunes. You have control of it. Not in that you own those platforms, but if one of them goes down, let's say suddenly you lose access to your blog, or YouTube goes all social justicey and they pull all pickup stuff, maybe that happens in the future, you've still got other platforms. You're not relying on one thing, and it's the same with girls. Yeah, you're not just relying on one girl and being all super needy. You have options, and that gives you the freedom. Number 4, it's about connection, human connection. All right, this is not, as I just said, spammy, selling other people's material, heavily clickbaity, heavy kind of spammy marketing, which people are sick of. We know about banner adverts, and we know about pop-ups, and we know about the free cheesy PDF to get your email and all that stuff. This is about connections. Yeah, online is just an extension of real world relationship. So your brand, your message, your thing, it's got to be human. It's got to have soul. It's got to have personality. It's got to have warmth. People are very good at telling if something is just for selling, if something is spammy, or if it's something you really love. And I've said before, you got to give before you receive, as my grandmother used to say. So for the first 1 or 2 years, you should just be putting out content. Just be doing it for the love of it, not trying to make money. You're showing your human side. You're talking about the failures. You're talking about the slog. You're talking about the grind. You're talking about the hustle. You're not selling quick fixes, get rich quick, magic pills. It's human. Yep. And it's got to be original. That's the creativity part of it. Yep. You have to live this. So in marketing, they say, tell it, don't sell it. So especially if your brand is your lifestyle, you really have to live it. You have to walk the walk. You're not stealing other people's templates and copying the masses. You're coming up with something that's original, that's fresh, that's creative. You've got your own ideas. You're not just repackaging old ideas. And that leads on to the next point, creativity. In that if you're doing what everyone else is doing, if you're just another lifestyle game blog, or if you're just another identical night game YouTube channel, or you're just another identical day game channel, then you're doing it wrong. You need to have your own voice. And the best way, as I said, to find that is to just start. You don't need loads of money. You just need the phone that's in your pocket. You need a computer, a laptop with basic free editing. You need Wi-Fi and you need a credit card. And that is it. We are so lucky that we don't need the middlemen anymore. We've cut it out. It's democratic. And I have access to the same tools that you have access to. So I press the same upload button. That's what Casey Neistat says, as everybody else on YouTube. So it's fair. And you can just start. And in the beginning, content is a bit embarrassing, it's a bit poor, it's a bit rough and ready, but people forgive you for it because they can see you're just starting out. And in fact, showing the vulnerabilities is very attractive because it shows that it's human. And you learn by the mistakes. You learn it each time you upload, each time you record a podcast, each time you write an article, each time you even post to Twitter, and you see what works, what doesn't work. You'll find your voice eventually, but just start. That's the message. Just like day game, just get out there. And the last point is that it's called one-man brand because I basically do it alone. In that I record these podcasts, I shoot the videos, I edit the videos, I upload these podcasts. I'm in charge of the WordPress blog. I do the majority of my teaching. Recently, I've given more of the teaching to my senior coach, Craig Cassidy. You can see him in field on my YouTube channel. But yeah, rather than relying on a big company or a collective where it's inevitably going to lead to arguments, usually about money, egos clash, especially in the pickup business. You're going to argue about who's pulling their weight. It's much easier to have your own voice and be in control of that. Own it, quite literally. Yeah, that you own the website, you own the domain. They're your products, it's your revenue. That's not to say you have to do everything yourself. You can delegate. So with sites like Upwork, where you can find labor online, right? If you're working online. So I've got someone else who occasionally helps me with my emails if it's inquiries. I've worked with designers, I've worked with editors, I've worked with coders, I've worked with artists, I've worked with cameramen, I've worked with event people for locations. But it's me that's employing them, and they're not part of the company. You just use them as and when. So I'm not saying you have to be good at all these things, no, but you have to have the creative ideas. It's your brand, so you look after it. Right, that took longer than I thought, and we're left with 5 or so minutes to talk about how all this one-man brand stuff applies to girls, to pick up, to day game, to your SMV. Well, I've said it before, your sexual market value is your brand. You are your brand. So you're going out there, you're doing day game, you're doing night game, even if you're online, even if you're on bloody Tinder, you are a brand. Now online, it's really just how you look, but on the street, it's how you look, how you stand, but what you say, how you say it, the sub-communication going on, how you text, how you behave on a date, how you behave after you've had sex. All of that needs to add up. All of that needs to be congruent, they say in game, consistent. So all those points that I just spoke about in terms of building something online, it applies to game. So having a clear mission, choosing, are you coming across as the bad boy or the boyfriend? And that needs to be consistent. The bad boy or the nice guy. Consistency, yes. So going out and doing day game regularly and not changing your brand from day to day, keeping that vibe, and in the girl's eyes, being the same person, holding the frame. Regularity. So you need to remind her of your existence through things like pinging. You need to be out there collecting phone numbers. You need to be staying on her radar if you're doing long game, even if she's just a fuck buddy. You need to be maintaining that harem, all these things I've spoken about before. Connection. So you're not just a pickup robot, you're a real person. That's why we do grounding, and that's why it's not all flashy on the date. It's not all escalation. There's got to be some rapport in there. She's got to believe, whether this is true or not, that you want her for more than just sex, that you recognize she's a human and she recognizes that you're a human, and showing a few vulnerabilities, not opening up and crying. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just being human. That's very, very attractive. Being creative, so not being a day game robot and copying everybody else, coming up with your own style. And lastly, doing it solo, because day game is a solo sport. The wing helps you out, gets you over your initial AA, but then it really is a solo sport. Yeah. Think about how your Facebook brands you. So everything you post on Facebook, you got to remember to your male friends, to your family, but to the girls on your Facebook, that is your brand. Are you thinking about all those things I just said? Are you being consistent? Are you going with an image? Are you being regular on things like Instagram and Facebook? Think about photo routines on dates. I've made a video about this. Pick up photo routines, going old school, but it works. I've got a separate Instagram now that I use just for dates, and it does the DHVing for me without bragging massively. They're selected photos which tell the girl specific things about me. They hit all those attraction switches. Watch that video on YouTube if you haven't. And most importantly, with your sexual market value, 2 girls, 2 women, and for life, we're going for longevity, right? Not flash in the pan, maybe fake it till you make it in the beginning, but we're trying to make this win-win. So the hustle's not just on the girl, the hustle is on society. I've said that before, the day game, it's you and her against society, because you're not doing nightclubs, you're not doing Tinder, you're not splashing your cash, you're not relying on male model looks. The hustle is on all the old-fashioned ways of meeting girls. It's win-win, because the girl wants to be seduced. Guys often ask me, what happens if girls find out about game, about pickup? As if girls don't like sex or want to be picked up. Of course they do. So make it win-win. There are no shortcuts to building up your sexual market value in your 20s or from your late teens. That's when you build it up in all areas. Look at my video on the elements of sexual market value and how you can build them up. And don't believe anyone that says you can cut corners or that you can change overnight. Being a good day gamer takes at least a year, 2 years to really get the skill set sorted, and then you can start having fun with creativity. But at the heart of it, your brand remains the same, and you're going to keep that going for a long time. We're very lucky as men that we can sustain our sexual market value. It doesn't just fall off a cliff like a girl's does in her late 20s. We can have that Bentley brand. Yeah, we can have that Glenfiddich brand. We can have that Bond brand. We can keep it going. Anyway, that was podcast 74. The next one will be from Ukraine. I was going to say the Ukraine, but that's not correct. Ukrainians don't like that. Ukraine. We'll speak to you with me mate Tim next week. Until then, ta-ra.